Good evening and welcome to the show which, according to the Daily Telegraph science pages, has a limited appeal to certain viewers. People whose brains have smaller frontal lobes have trouble getting Have I Got News For You's smart aleck punchlines, preferring physical humour of the Benny Hill kind. So just for those viewers, here's a sneak preview of round 2. In the news this week, in London, an exhausted Robin Cook comes to the end of his streak for charity. The Queen Mother suspects that Prince Charles may have had something to do with the disappearance of her favourite ascot hat. And after a cockpit error over Salisbury, Flight Lieutenant Simpkins tries to retrieve his Sidewinder missile. On Ian Hislop's team is the man who's made a career out of making people disappear, as our viewing figures for tonight's show will sadly prove, Paul Daniels. And with Paul Merton tonight is a spin doctor who spent years attempting to raise the profile of Labour Chancellor, whatever his name is, Charlie Whelan. Round 1 features stories from the news. Hope that doesn't come as too much of a shock. Paul and Charlie.
That's Robin Cook saying hello to people. That's John Simpson, famous BBC reporter. That's Alistair Campbell, spin doctor for the Labour Party.
What was that pink thing?
That was Alistair Campbell.
Oh, right.
Nature can be cruel. Well, the BBC have been accused, in the person of John Simpson, of being anti-British, I believe.
John Simpson is alleged, to have a certain Serb bias in his report.
Well, he's sitting in Belgrade, which is a bit of a problem. And his major fault seems to be that when the bombs come down, he doesn't say, all the Serbs are running around saying, great NATO, more, kill us, please. Well, normally when the government complain about the BBC's treatment of something, the BBC just give in. I remember we had problems with some bloke called Mandelson. I mean, for example, last series, I couldn't have said Mandelson and worn a pink shirt. No.
So, yes, who was NATO recruited this week? You did mention his name earlier on.
Robin Cook.
I think he's been there for a while, actually, Robin Cook.
But that is a name that I mentioned earlier on, though.
Yes.
Robin Cook said that Simpson should come home. For something Cook's wife used to say to him, but...
I think the expression was actually pull out, which is definitely... But NATO has actually recruited Alistair Campbell, of course.
Is it? As what? A mascot? Target practice?
I've just come back from Brussels last night, and the whole of the NATO headquarters is surrounded by the media, and all Milosevic has got to do is drop one, boom, and all the media's gone, which I tend to approve of, really.
And who's been writing to Robin Cook this week? Someone you wouldn't expect to write to Robin Cook.
Shirley Temple? Goofy.
No, it's actually Milosevic's wife.
Mrs. Milosevic.
Is that the real Mrs. Milosevic, or the one from the East End that keeps getting pestered and complained to the press council? There really is a slobbered Ann Milosevic living out the East End, isn't there?
I can see a lot of reporters on The Sun would probably ring him up, thinking he'd moved here.
Yeah, I think that would work well.
In a bizarre open letter to Robin Cook this week, Milosevic's wife, Myra, said, "You do not have enough state affairs to attend to, and you lack family and personal obligations, so that you spend much of your ample free time caring about other people's private lives." To which Robin Cook responded, "I think I'm in there." OK, Paul, and your lovely assistant, Ian Hislop. What's all this about?
The Queen is on a jaunt for her birthday and doing goodly deeds across the nation.
Which nation?
That one out there. That, they all look alike one.
Suddenly I'm sitting next to the Duke of Edinburgh.
That one.
Last time I saw a reaction like that was when you were playing the Sheriff of Nottingham in Tunbridge Wells. I was in the audience.
Oh, no, you weren't.
The Prince is slagging off my favourite thingy.
He has been slagging something off, but I didn't realise it was your favourite thingy.
The internet.
Porn on the internet, yes.
Yes. No. I'll read that again.
Are you a star or are you a subscriber?
So what did Prince Philip do during the Queen's speech?
He nodded off.
It was at a particularly poignant moment in her speech, when she was saying that Korea will have the undivided attention of Britain. So what about the state banquet? Did you read what they had to eat for that?
Yorkshire Terrier?
It was actually ginseng with cucumber and mustard.
Well, that ginseng can't work then, can it? Because he fell asleep. All those adverts where you buy this ginseng and be full of life and everything. And he ate it, zonked out.
I mean, you don't know. You see, if he hadn't have had it, he might have died.
It is, yes, the royal visit to Seoul, where the Queen and Prince Philip met some of Korea's 1 million unemployed, and the Koreans met 2 of Britain's. After landing in Seoul, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh left the airport in a top-of-the-range Daewoo, Prince Philip driving and Her Majesty in the sidecar. Paul and Charlie, nothing as helpful as film footage for you. Instead, a headline to decipher: a rough justice for school kids.
A headmaster hired, well, I guess it's the clues in the rough bit. He hired a sniffer dog to sniff out drugs, and without telling the pupils who had gone to the school, and they found, and the dog found loads of stuff, and kept some of it.
What was the dog's name?
Mr. Johnson.
Its name was Scuba, in fact, and its normal job was...
It's a diver.
Airports.
No, it works in nightclubs in the Macclesfield area.
What, as a singer?
I've worked with a few dogs in nightclubs. Usually strippers, anyway.
Excellent.
I thought you said you were going to leave the country if Labour got elected.
No, actually I didn't. That's my most quoted thing, and I never ever said it. And I find that really sad, because I would like to have said it. I did say I will leave the country if Labour get back in and do this. And I went through the things they did in the 70s, which they haven't done. They've just continued Tory policies, so it doesn't matter, does it?
You're going to sit there and take that, Charlie?
Absolutely.
Good.
No, there is another famous sniffer dog who is even better than Scuba, in fact. She's called Tammy, and she's a collie, and she's so good that she has 24-hour protection and a guard dog looking after her. Her speciality is sniffing out shellfish.
Is shellfish a drug?
No.
Then why train a dog to sniff out shellfish?
I think it's illegal importers of shellfish.
What's a rucksack full of oysters coming through Heathrow? You news me, sir, did you pack these shrimps yourself?
This is the headmaster who's using a sniffer dog to search for drugs at his school in Stockport. Security officer Steve Warren, in an interview with The Sun, praised the school's unique stance in dealing with the problem of drugs. A lot of headmasters just bury it under the carpet. Suspicions that pupils were taking cannabis were raised when children actually started eating what they'd made in home economics. And finally, Ian and Paul. Straw 0, Liverpool 1, Straw OG.
I don't know anything about football, do you?
No, but I don't think Jack Straw is a football team.
You don't think, but you're not certain, are you?
I think this is the Home Secretary.
What did Jack Straw do to Liverpool then?
He made a gaffe. He was talking about Liverpool and he said, they're always up to something, aren't they, people in Liverpool? I think a lot of people in Liverpool believed he was suggesting they were all criminals.
I bought an advent calendar in Liverpool and all the windows were boarded up.
You could actually add something after he'd said they're always up to something.
Don't tell anybody in Liverpool that I said that.
And who was he talking to?
Somebody from Liverpool.
He was actually talking to a room full of journalists. So what are the other cock-ups that Straw has been responsible for?
None at all. It's been...
He's right.
There have been one or two, you know, slight problems in the straw area.
I can't think of any. I mean, I think he's been,
Shall I just remind you of one or
he's
two?
been the best Home Secretary we've ever had.
How about the Lawrence inquiry, where he revealed the informant's names and addresses and then went
That wasn't his fault. That was the
That was the
civil
judge.
servants.
That was the McPherson. Don't attack the Home Secretary if you can have a pop at a judge, for God's sake. You're not going to get anything out of him.
No.
Put away the Paxman mask. It's not going to work.
Yes, it is Jack Straw's off-the-cuff remarks about Scousers, which have offended Liverpudlians everywhere. Jack Straw was eager to defend his comments as harmless, saying, "I often find myself the butt of jokes because I'm an Essex man and a Blackburn supporter. And because you're a piss-poor Home Secretary, let's not forget that." Scousers are notoriously quick to take offence, or for that matter, anything else they can get their hands on. At the end of that round, the scores are like the legs on a genetically modified chicken, with 4 on each side. And now the most exciting and sensational round in the history of panel games. Yes, this week we look at the world of spin doctoring and misinformation. 2 stories of artful dodginess, Paul and Charlie. Who's spinning who here?
William Hague, obviously. This will be at the kitchen table, philosophy. And it's Amanda Platel, who's become, I suppose, what the Tories' spin doctor. The idea being that William Hague said something about people discuss issues of the day, politics around the kitchen table. And to remind the Tory party that we're going to have a kitchen table. So every time we see that kitchen table, we must remember that our policies must address people's concerns at home. I think somebody with a very ready wit sold him a kitchen table. And he had to come up with some excuse for buying it.
As a Conservative, does that grab you? Seeing a kitchen table? Do you think, yes?
Well, no, a dining
Dead
room
wood.
table. Dining room. King Arthur had a round table, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
He didn't come to a very good end, did he?
He was there a while, though.
Yeah, wife ran off with someone.
I must interrupt, I'm sorry.
Why?
Yeah. The kitchen table is in fact only a symbolic...
I found the last Conservative in Britain. I want to grill him while he's here.
Well, physically, be my guest.
Amanda Platel was sacked by the Sunday Express for writing a story about Peter Mandelson. But I can't tell you what the story is, can I? Is this the BBC?
Well, you can have a go.
She was sacked. Anyway, she's now working for the Tories, so she can get her own back.
It was the story about Peter Mandelson's friend Ronaldo, wasn't it?
I don't know. Hague's also, I see, he's had an Ian Hislop haircut.
Oh,
Now-
really?
Isn't that a contradiction in terms?
Yes, how do you rate his new image? This is him a year ago,
Yeah.
and this is the new William Hague.
He has got substantially older, hasn't he? In the last year, he now looks about 70.
He's changed the hand movements. This was the Thunderbirds look. And now he's going for the bike ride.
This is the 9th relaunch of the Conservatives since William Hague was appointed leader, as orchestrated by his spin doctor, Amanda Platel, who is new to the job. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do, but whatever it is, I'm going to have a bloody good go at it, William Hague told her. Ian and Paul, your piece of kidology.
That's Charlie's old boss. This
Brilliant photographs, brilliant pictures those are.
I think actually that was Charlie's finest hour. Because Gordon Brown had just presented a budget with some stuff about children in it. And everyone thought, uh-oh, Gordon Brown not married. No children, bit embarrassing. So they borrowed some.
You can't give many points for that, you got it wrong, I'm afraid.
Right, so
Because that
put us
happened before the budget, and you said it happened after.
So you did it beforehand, what, because you were trying to sell in some sort of cut in child benefit, were you?
No. Raising child benefit.
Raising it?
Absolutely.
Oh, how heartwarming.
And when was Gordon and Sarah McCauley was the...
Sarah,
yes, his fiancée? When was their first outing, as it were? Didn't you take the photographers there?
Oh, we took them to a restaurant. They enjoyed that. What a great photograph.
Yeah.
It's not posed or anything.
No.
I'm an innocent in all this, you see. I just assumed all this stuff just happened naturally, you see. I didn't know it was all rigged.
So when you hold a press conference to advertise your coming series...
I don't hold them.
Well, how do people find out about what you're doing?
Word of mouth. Don't watch.
I don't have a coming series.
You haven't got a coming series?
I don't have a coming series.
Oh, right.
No. Once television went cheap, I decided to go and work abroad, and that was it. Yeah.
Do you pay any tax in this country?
Yes, I do pay my taxes. I used to be a local government internal auditor, dear boy, and I know the tax system of this country better than you do.
I work for the Chancellor of the Exchequer. I know the tax system.
Yes, it's the cunning use of Gordon Brown and Sarah Macaulay at a 3-year-old's birthday party. The highlight of the party was the arrival of the children's entertainer, although it did lead to an embarrassing moment when Gordon Brown shouted out, "Who wants to see Mr. Banana Man?" and Sarah Macaulay replied, "I've told you not until we're married." Which public exposure brings us spinning to the end of our second round, with both teams seeming reluctant to assume anything resembling a lead, wedded as they are to 6.
Ooh, lovely.
And so to the bear pit that is our odd one out round, individually contested, fought over and most often lost. Paul, your groovers and shakers are Elvis Presley and Widdicombe, Theodore Roosevelt and Giles Brandreth.
Well, I don't know. It's got to be teddy bears is my first thought on this, because Teddy Roosevelt shot a bear, and then teddy bears were named after him. Elvis Presley, we know he sang a song called Teddy Bear. Giles Brandreth lost a chess match to a teddy bear. No, Giles Brandreth probably... I don't know, he probably collects teddy bears, doesn't he? All the others have owned teddy bears, apart from Teddy Roosevelt, who shot a bear. So he's the odd one out.
Is the right answer.
Hey!
Teddy collector Elvis Presley had a particularly eccentric lifestyle. According to The Guardian, of all Elvis's fabled eating exploits, perhaps the most impressive is the 4 bowls of shredded wheat at one sitting. No wonder he died on the toilet. Charlie, Peter Cook, Tony Blair, a grey seal, and a Bay City roller.
That's a rock band there, isn't it?
That's Eric Faulkner, isn't
Eric
it, from the
Faulkner.
Bay City Rollers?
No, so he plays in a rock band.
Yes, it is Eric Faulkner. How do you know that?
Well, my sister was a very keen Bay City Rollers fan, and so I learnt all their names. There's Woody,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
Eric, there's Les.
And who were the other two?
Oh, I don't know, the drummer, Alan? Was there an Alan in
Alan,
there?
yes.
Well,
This is sad.
I don't think I can remember the name of the other one. Stuart.
Correct, you couldn't remember. No, you were correct in assuming you couldn't remember it. It was Derek.
Derek. Has it got anything to do with Scotland?
It's something that Peter Cook did to David Frost in the 60s.
Oh, he saved him from drowning.
Which Paul said just
Yes,
moments
Peter Cook
before.
saved David Frost from drowning in America.
Right.
And he said it was the only thing in his life he ever regretted doing.
Yeah.
The odd one out's Tony Blair, because he didn't save anyone from drowning.
No, he did.
He didn't.
Oh,
He made
is
it
that
up.
true?
He
Made
made
it
it
up.
up. Yeah. Alistair Campbell made it up.
They were all reported as saving someone from drowning.
With the exception of...
Eric Faulkner, who was saved.
I bet that's right.
Because the seal saved
Not only-
a boy's life, didn't he?
Grey Seal, in fact. Grey Seal saves the life of Charlene Camburn.
Little girl.
Well, we assume so, yes.
Fine. I was only mildly wrong.
In the North Sea, yes, in February. Do you want to know a fascinating fact about grey seals?
I bet you haven't got one.
I have.
Go on then. What?
They-
They're colourblind.
No,
they
they-
don't know they're grey.
They can detect movement of haddock with their whiskers. It's astonishing, isn't it?
So you mean if somebody's moving a box of haddock somewhere in Dundee?
I'm going to give you 1 point. The answer is that they've all saved people who were drowning, except Tony Blair, who saved a person who was waving. According to the skipper of Blair's boat, the man was not drowning, but if we hadn't been there to help him, he would soon have been in big trouble. There's no telling what might have happened to the experienced scuba diver several inches from the nearest beach. Ian, your proper Charlies are Peter Mandelson, Ron Atkinson, Charlie Whelan, and the Royal Yacht Britannia.
That's a horrible picture, isn't it? That's a horrible picture of me. Where'd you get that from?
No, that's the Britannia yacht.
Only one of them is auditioning for Village People. They've all been dropped by New Labour.
Well, it has more to do with one of our guests.
It's alleged
Yeah.
that I got Big Ron sacked because he was the manager of Coventry, and my very close friend Geoffrey Robinson was the owner of Coventry. So it's alleged I got him sacked. It's alleged that I sunk the Royal Yacht because I gave a story to some newspaper and said we'd spoke to the Queen. We hadn't spoken to the Queen, actually. And we were getting rid of the Royal Yacht. And it's alleged that I did something to Peter Mandelson.
So you're still denying that you were responsible for getting rid of Mandelson?
Absolutely.
It's just coincidence, then, that he went and then you had to go?
I didn't have to go. I just felt like I wanted to do another job, like appear on Have I Got News For You and things like that.
That thought just came to you in the middle of the night, did it? When they said you're sacked?
So are you saying that you are alleged to be responsible for the removal of these three from the
That's
various
correct,
jobs?
yeah.
And so that makes you the odd one out?
Exactly.
Well, you only get 1 point because you're only partially right.
Ah.
That's spin for you.
So our answer is anyway, that they have all been axed as a result of Charlie Whelan's spins, with the exception of Peter Mandelson, whose demise was in no way related to Charlie Whelan whatsoever. At all. In an interview with The Independent, Peter Mandelson was asked whether he believed that his sexual orientation should be a matter of privacy. Yes, I do. My personal life is private, and I think others should respect that. Ooh, get her. And finally, in this round, Paul, Chief Longwolf, Tammy Wynette, Tsar Nicholas II, and yourself.
Which tribe was Lone Wolf?
It wasn't a try, it was just him on his own.
Was he? That was Lone Wolf.
This is about people being dug up after they're dead.
Sammy Wynette's been dug up.
Tammy Wynette was recently, the body came back up again because the daughters were claiming that the husband was conspiring with a doctor and giving her the wrong medicine. Tsar Nicholas was, his bones were dug up, weren't they? And they DNA'd, was it Prince Philip? Paul here hasn't worked for a few years. I think Paul must be the odd one out, clearly, because he's the only one that hasn't been exhumed.
Astonishingly, it is the right answer.
Yeah.
Although there is a reason why we chose Paul. In 1994, you claimed that you died for 5 hours at the Prince of Wales Theatre.
I've had gigs like that.
Yeah. And I have no recollection, and I know that they got me to the hospital, and I was still breathing then, but then I went, and they brought me back. Yes. Bring them back alive.
You claimed that you saw what was on the other side.
What I said was, there's no sensation. What happens when you pass out is when you pass out. There's no living sensation. So I said, death must be like that.
Do you think it's a bit premature to say that after a few hours?
You mean you've got to wait for the lift to go down?
On the big voice to say, we like you not a lot, but a little.
Fellow with long hair.
Possibly.
Possibly long hair.
But
The boat turns up very slowly, ferryman.
Oh, how very classical education.
Classically educated.
Tammy Wynette once owned a car that had bull horns on the bonnet, rifles on the wings, pistols for door handles, a saddle between the front seats, and a horn which sounded like a cow mooing. One of the less successful limited editions of the Nissan Micra. which doom and gloom draws a shroud over the cadaver of this particular round, with the grim news that Ian and Paul look to be dead and buried. Behind as they are, 12-6. And so to the friendly, if slightly over-familiar feel of our final Missing Words round, a choice selection of half-formed headlines, including many, if not less, from this week's guest publication, the reliably entertaining Abracadabra. So stand by for Cat's £20,000 what?
Divorce settlement from Al. Bet on the National.
It's as ridiculous. Fax blunder is, in fact, the answer. This is an office cat which cost its company £20,000 by accidentally faxing top-secret documents. It was asleep on the fax, and its paw hit the start button, and all the...
Wasn't asleep, it was photocopiing its bottom for the amusement of the other cats.
Next, what will amaze your friends?
Paul Daniels, available for bar mitzvahs, children's parties.
The amazing disappearing pencil.
Vanishing something? Vanishing...
Vanishing mirror of doom.
The Paul Daniels horror mask.
No.
Talking egg cup. Whistling pigeon. Chatty cushion.
Super pocket guillotine is the answer. Next, British what are pear-shaped?
Pears. Lovely ladies.
Ballet dancers.
Ballerinas, in fact. This is according to Derek Dean, Artistic Director of the English National Ballet, who says British girls are too bummy and titty. It's all a bit highbrow, this ballet world, isn't it? And finally, what to make sitcoms funny?
Angus Dayton sacked.
John Burt promises. Director General promises.
Virtually, yeah. Burt orders BBC to make sitcoms funny. Which, unsightly squabbling, means that at the end of tonight's bout, this week's prize idiots are Ian and Paul with 12, while this week's prize fighters are Paul and Charlie with 14.
Well done.
And I leave you with news that in Washington, President Clinton reveals how he should have handled Monica Lewinsky differently. Still unfamiliar with the layout of his new house, Alan Clark regrets allowing photographers into the library. And finally, budget cuts on her TV show force Vanessa Feltz to get a lift into work. Good night.
With sessions from Catatonia, Kula Shaker and many more, Jules Holland will be here on BBC Two at 11:20. Up next, world-class snooker from Sheffield.